Hey, thanks for pressing playing another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. Let's get right into it with some bite down boxing topics. I kind of hit on the Paulie Malignaggi being terminated by Showtime. I've hit on that a little bit, but I wanted to circle back just because I see the reaction to some people who seem like, I believe it's a white male, a white boxing fan who's in support of Paulie keeping his job, or want to kind of approach the situation almost as ignorantly as with the same ignorance as Paulie. You know, I would venture to say that when Paulie he would have been cool if he would have just left it at a white fighter. This is it's opinion. A white fighter who said, "I'll never lose to a black, or I'll never lose to a black boy, or I wouldn't let a black boy beat me, or I wouldn't let a black fighter beat me." If he wants to say that, that guy would probably lose his job, lose his contract, that's his opinion, and we couldn't really argue that. Now that might cause some flack, but that's not the worst thing in the world. But I think when he took it to the next step, where I don't see many black fighters and black boxing personalities or figures, I rarely see any black fighters go on offense in terms of racial matters. I see a lot of black fighters defend themselves. I don't really think I've seen any go on flat out offense to just say, and then that's sticking to boxing matters. Paulie wanted to get out here and get into the world of the realm of politics, and then just had some very bad takes. Now he could have stuck to some facts and what he was talking about. And we see him on some of these conservative accounts that he follows, social media accounts. The argument that he had with Stephen Cunningham, coming to the defense of police brutality in many ways, and with what he said. He could have he listens to all of that stuff. It's some facts that he could have thrown out there and we couldn't have argued with. But I think the way that he chose to go about it, the way that he got emotional about it, he played a hand in his own demise. He could have stuck to the facts if he wanted to go with what a Candace Owens would give you about the the relationship between the size of the black population and what the black community accounts for with violent crimes or homicides. He could have ran with that. But he just got out here and said that racial, and then these two things don't even connect. He said because a white fighter would lose his job for making that statement, for him, that was all he needed to dismiss systemic racism. That was it. If he would have said something more substantive, like I just said, ran out there with some stats, maybe you keep your job. But he just said because a white fighter would lose his job and black fighters can seemingly say everything, that means there's no... We got tons of more important issues that validate the claims of systemic racism. We could point to median incomes. We could point to sentencing for crimes and for nonviolent crimes, length of sentences. And then to go and say that, to get on, to speak out about against people speaking out a bit against police or about police brutality. Come on, bro. Like that was a horrible, that was just a horrible fight. And then I just don't understand how you can't understand that he's ignorant to the fact that you get paid to talk and you out here talking in social media and it costs you your relationship with your employer. And it's like he had to be right. Well, sometimes when you have to be right, you have to be sat down. And then again, if I'm bringing you in and I'm calling you an analyst, and if your arguments on some of this stuff is so terrible and so ignorant, I might become concerned that you may not even be, that this might leak over into what you do for me professionally. Some people would say it already has. Then also, based on our service that we're providing, the product that we're putting out here, the quality or the makeup of the product that we're putting out here for our subscribers, it's primarily black and brown fighters. I have to be concerned that your views, you just might not really need to be here, bro. You just might really not need to be here if you can't see this any better. And lastly, the funny thing is for him to be from Bensonhurst, where some 30 years ago Spike Lee based Do the Right Thing, and all of the messaging and the optics and the images and whatnot and the conflict in Do the Right Thing was just a movie. But now here in 2020, we actually have those situations. That's what blew this whole situation up, was what transpired in Minneapolis with George Floyd and the response of the people to that. And to sit here and boldly say, "Come again, buddy," or whatever he said, think again, buddy. Come on, bro. Like, it's not like he didn't have a hand in his own demise. Anyway, moving on to these fights this weekend, man. Today, actually, at 2:30, over in the UK, Matchroom moves forward with his second fight camp card, headlined by super featherweight WBC champion Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas. I'm looking forward to seeing Terry Harper because I think super featherweight is one of the better divisions in women's boxing. Anthony Fowler is also in there, a super welterweight against Adam Harper, who's 9-1. Fowler is 12-1. Again, man, I saw Eddie talking his fight camp stuff up, and the presentation looks pretty good. But again, these cards aren't blowing us away. Ivan Hopi Price, I've seen him before, versus Johnny Phillips, and then Chris Billiams Smith versus Nathan Thorley, who's 14-0. That's for the Commonwealth Cruiserweight title. I look at some of these as a boxing fan to see, is there any intersectionality, or could any of these fighters ever be on a collision course to cross over, such as a Josh Taylor is in the process of doing. They thought Fowler was kind of special. We saw the way that he dropped that last fight. I believe that was his last fight. How is it going to connect? Does it connect any dots, or are you just a local kid? Now it's dope for the UK boxing scene and how that. Well, it's no crowds tonight, but I'll check it out. But these cards aren't markedly better than what Top Rank put on. And I just thought that was, misleading for Eddie to run out there a couple of weeks ago and say how terrible Top Rank's offerings were, based on everything that all the circumstances that we're aware of. Saturday night at 8:00 on Fox Sports on Fox. And then I think later in the evening, maybe on FS1, there might be some other fights that are held from this. I did call into the press conference yesterday. I think I pressed some wrong buttons or at the wrong time and didn't get into the queue to ask my question. But I did kind of figure out what I wanted to talk about. But this is the interim for the Interim World Boxing Association title, WBA. between welterweights, Jamal James, who's 26-1, and previous or former title challenger Tomas Dulorme, 25-3-1. I think that's going to be a pretty good main event. I do. Two taller welterweights. It's impressive for me. Dulorme coming off of defeating Terrell Williams, who was undefeated. Competitive fight with Jesse Vargas. So, we're seeing a pretty good matchup. So I'm interested in that. Super middleweight, David Morrell, who's just 2-0, going up against Lennox Allen, who's 22-0-1. An interim WBA super middleweight title fight. I think that's going to be... I'm interested to see what all the excitement is about. I think he's out of Cuba, I believe. So interesting to see how he's being moved. And did he bite off too much? Welterweight, Michael Fox against Lucas Santa Maria. And then super lightweight, rising, is he a prospect just yet? I don't know. Omar Juarez, El Relampago, I believe his nickname, against Willie Shaw, who's 12-1. That's not a bad matchup for him. Then, like I said, the other fights could end up on FS1. Vito Malignaggi Jr. against Chris Rollins. Luis Eduardo Pena versus Michael Polite Coffee. That's a heavyweight fight. Both of those guys are undefeated. And then a lightweight fight between Jose Valenzuela at 5-0 against Teodoro Alonso. That's 3. He's 3-2. So not a bad card whatsoever. This is at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California. No crowd. TGB Promotions. Like I said, PBC back on network TV. It'll be interesting to see what these TV numbers are. Fighters first, I would say. I'm not saying they're elite or whatever, but I'm just saying these are two guys, in my opinion, who happen to be in a situation. They don't have all the leverage, and the guarantees aren't in the way. These are guys still fighting their way up to the top of the mountain. So I expect a very competitive fight. It should be entertaining. Dulorme has said that Jamal James won't finish on his feet. James is just saying he's planning to show up and show out. So I think it'll be very competitive and a very good fight. Interested to see what Omar Juarez does. That's along the lines of what we were seeing on the top-ranked ESPN cards. Michael Fox is 22-1, and he's actually the standby. We got to get through the weigh-ins today to see if there needs to be any shakeup due to a positive COVID test. Hopefully that's avoided. And then that's pretty much it, man. I'm looking forward to most of it. I'll check out the DAZN action today. And that's pretty much it. There was one other fight I was thinking about. It's actually going to be on that UFC Fight Pass. I got to get that app fired up. I've had problems with it in the past. I want to say that might be who Salida Promotions is doing that Kronk card. I want to say that might be headed for that. Apti or Aptiv is his name. I'll have more on that later. But anyway, again, man, I see the white boxing fans out there, and even Robert Garcia coming to the, speaking on behalf of Paulie. I saw yesterday on the Ringside Reporter Live that Beeb did. I think he was talking about a Pugmire article. I don't have access to. I don't subscribe to them. But I guess Paulie, from what Beeb said, Paulie did try to apologize before he got a chance to get his second, to revise his apology that was rejected. They went on and contacted him and told him, they were moving on. And again, you can say what you want to say. You better know how to say it. And if you've started to build up a track record, and this, you get into that progressive disciplinary stuff, we got to keep coming and talking to you. We got to get at you about this. It gives, especially in right now where Well, that's another story. Another story. We'll see where Paulie lands. I believe he still does the Sky Sports action, and we'll see what happens with him moving forward. My name is Wood. You don't have to actually pipe down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Peace.